Welcome, and thank you for joining us on what promises to be a deep and necessary journey. We are about to embark on an exploration of a land that is, perhaps more than any other on Earth, a place of profound and often bewildering contradictions. This is a journey into the heart of Israel and Palestine, a sliver of territory that has captivated the human imagination for millennia. It is a land frequently described with words heavy with spiritual and historical significance: holy, ancient, and promised. Here, the very ground beneath your feet seems to vibrate with the stories of prophets, kings, and empires that stretch back to the dawn of recorded history. It is a place where three of the world's great monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, find their most sacred sites, often nestled impossibly close to one another in a tapestry of shared and sometimes disputed sanctity. This voyage is not simply a historical tour or a geographical survey. It is an attempt to understand the soul of a region that is as modern and dynamic as it is ancient and revered. Alongside the time-worn stones of Jerusalem and the windswept ruins of desert fortresses, a bustling, technologically advanced state has been constructed, born from an ancient dream and forged in the crucible of modern history. The story of Israel is one of remarkable achievement, of a people returning to a homeland after 2,000 years of exile and building a nation against incredible odds. It is a narrative of resilience, innovation, and the powerful, enduring pull of ancestral connection, a story that continues to inspire millions around the globe with its testament to the power of hope and determination. However, to truly comprehend this land, we must be willing to embrace its complexities and confront its paradoxes head-on. The very same story of national rebirth for one people is inextricably and tragically intertwined with the story of displacement and statelessness for another. The narrative of Israel's creation cannot be told in isolation. It is fundamentally linked to the story of the Palestinian people, a narrative of competing, deeply felt claims to the very same soil. This is not a simple tale of right and wrong, of heroes and villains. Instead, it is a human drama of immense proportions, where both peoples see themselves as rightful heirs to the land, their identities and histories shaped by their connection to its hills, valleys, and cities. In this exploration, we will not shy away from the difficult questions or the painful truths that lie at the heart of this conflict. Our purpose is not to look merely at the famous landmarks that draw pilgrims and tourists from every corner of the world. Instead, we will delve into the turbulent history that created them, shaped them, and continues to define their significance. We will explore the pivotal events that have shaped the destinies of both Israelis and Palestinians, leading them to the precarious and challenging reality they face today. Our solemn goal is to provide a comprehensive, balanced, and deeply engaging look at this critical region of the world, always striving to honor the shared humanity of everyone involved in this long and arduous struggle. The story of this land is not written solely in books or recited in prayers. It is etched into the very stones that form its landscape. To walk here is to walk through layers of history, each civilization leaving its indelible mark upon the preceding one. Long before the modern conflict began, this territory served as a crossroads of empires, a coveted prize for conquerors from Babylonians and Persians to Greeks and Romans. Each conquest brought new rulers, new beliefs, and new architecture, creating a complex archaeological tapestry that tells a story of constant change and enduring significance. The remnants of these ancient powers are not confined to museums. They are an integral part of the living environment, from Roman aqueducts that stretch along the coast to Byzantine churches hidden in quiet corners of the Galilee. This land is the cradle of the Abrahamic faiths, the stage upon which a spiritual drama of global importance unfolded. For Jews, this is Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, promised to their ancestors by God. It is the location of their ancient kingdoms, the site of their two holy temples, and the eternal focus of their spiritual and national identity. The entire narrative of the Hebrew Bible is set against this backdrop, and the longing to return to Zion has been a central tenet of Jewish life for centuries of diaspora. Every hill and valley holds a biblical resonance, a connection that fueled a modern political movement and brought a scattered people back to their ancestral home, creating a powerful link between an ancient past and a contemporary reality. For Christians, this is the Holy Land, the place where Jesus of Nazareth lived, preached, was crucified, and according to their faith, resurrected. From Bethlehem to the Sea of Galilee, and culminating in the sacred sites of Jerusalem, the landscape is a physical map of the Gospels. For 2 millennia, Christian pilgrims have traced the footsteps of Jesus, seeking a tangible connection to the foundations of their faith. The churches built to commemorate these events, like the monumental Church of the Holy Sepulchre, are not just places of worship, but are living testaments to the enduring power of this narrative, attracting millions who come to see and touch the places where their salvation story is believed to have occurred. The presence of these ancient Christian communities adds yet another layer to the region's intricate human fabric. For Muslims, the land holds a profound sanctity as well, centered on the city of Jerusalem, which they call Al-Quds, the Holy. It was the first direction of prayer, Qibla, in Islam, before it was changed to Mecca. The Haram al-Sharif, or the Noble Sanctuary, is the third holiest site in the Islamic world, believed to be the location from which the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven during his night journey. The magnificent Dome of the Rock and the revered Al-Aqsa Mosque stand as powerful symbols of Islam's deep and historic connection to the city. This spiritual significance has made the land a central part of the Muslim world's religious and political consciousness for over 1,400 years, creating a deep-seated attachment that is as powerful and unyielding as that of the other faiths. At the core of the modern conflict lies a fundamental and seemingly irreconcilable clash of narratives. It is the story of 2 national movements, both laying claim to the same territory, each with a powerful and legitimate sense of historical justice on its side. For the Jewish people, the creation of the State of Israel in 1948 was the culmination of a 2,000-year-old dream and a desperate response to centuries of persecution and exile. The Zionist movement, which emerged in the late 19th century, was a quest for self-determination and a safe haven, a belief that only in their own sovereign state could Jews finally be masters of their own destiny and escape the anti-Semitism that had plagued them for generations. This narrative is one of redemption, return, and the miraculous rebirth of a nation against all odds. From the Palestinian perspective, however, the same historical events are viewed through a vastly different lens. For them, the arrival of Zionist settlers and the eventual creation of Israel represented a colonial enterprise that dispossessed them of their homeland. They see themselves as the indigenous inhabitants of the land, a people who had lived there for centuries, only to be uprooted and displaced by a political movement that originated in Europe. The year 1948 is not remembered as a war of independence but as the Nakba, or the catastrophe, a traumatic event that led to the flight or expulsion of over 700,000 Palestinians, creating a refugee crisis that remains unresolved to this day. Their narrative is one of loss, injustice, and a continuous struggle to reclaim their rights and achieve their own self-determination. These 2 stories are not just differing interpretations of the past. They are foundational to the identities of both peoples and shape their understanding of the present. For Israelis, the history of persecution, culminating in the Holocaust, makes the need for a secure Jewish state an existential imperative. Security is not an abstract concept but a lived reality, and the memory of vulnerability informs their political and military posture. The narrative of being surrounded by hostile forces and fighting for survival is a powerful and unifying force within Israeli society. This history fuels a deep-seated resolve to protect their hard-won sovereignty at all costs, viewing concessions through the prism of potential threats to their very existence. For Palestinians, the memory of the Nakba and the experience of ongoing occupation in the West Bank and blockade in Gaza are the defining elements of their collective identity. Their narrative is one of enduring resilience in the face of immense pressure, a struggle against what they perceive as an overwhelming military and political power. The symbols of their struggle are not ancient temples but lost villages, refugee camps, and the keys to homes they were forced to abandon, passed down through generations as a symbol of their right to return. This story of displacement and the quest for a homeland of their own fuels their political aspirations and their resistance, shaping every aspect of their lives from culture and art to daily existence. In a world of fast-paced news cycles and polarizing social media, the story of Israel and Palestine is often reduced to simplistic and misleading headlines. We are bombarded with images of conflict, violence, and political stalemate, which, while part of the reality, fail to capture the full picture of life in this complex region. These snapshots often reinforce hardened positions, forcing audiences to choose a side in a conflict where the human realities are far more nuanced and intertwined than we are led to believe. The daily lives, hopes, dreams, and fears of ordinary Israelis and Palestinians are lost in the noise of political rhetoric and sensationalism, replaced by caricatures that serve to dehumanize the other and perpetuate the cycle of misunderstanding and hostility. Our mission in this journey is to move beyond these superficial portrayals. We aim to peel back the layers of political discourse and media shorthand to reveal the human stories that lie beneath. This requires a commitment to listening, to understanding the historical grievances and the contemporary aspirations that motivate both peoples. It means acknowledging that for Israelis, the desire for security is a genuine and deeply felt need, born of a history of unimaginable trauma. It also means recognizing that for Palestinians, the yearning for freedom, dignity, and a state of their own is a just and legitimate aspiration, born of decades of displacement and military occupation. To ignore either of these fundamental truths is to misunderstand the conflict entirely. Achieving a deeper understanding requires us to confront uncomfortable facts and challenge our own preconceptions. It means exploring how the establishment of a safe haven for one people resulted in the loss of a home for another. It involves examining the difficult realities of life under occupation in the Palestinian territories, the checkpoints, the separation barrier, the restrictions on movement, and understanding their profound impact on daily life. Simultaneously, it involves appreciating the constant sense of existential threat that many Israelis feel, living in a volatile region with the memory of war and the reality of terrorism as ever-present concerns. Only by holding these competing realities in view can we begin to grasp the true complexity of the situation. Therefore, this exploration is an invitation to you, the viewer, to suspend judgment and open your mind to a more complete and multifaceted story. We will not offer easy answers or simple solutions because none exist. Instead, our goal is to provide context, to connect the dots between the past and the present, and to illuminate the human dimension of the conflict. We believe that a more informed and empathetic understanding is the essential first step toward any meaningful conversation about peace and coexistence. By looking beyond the headlines, we hope to foster a more nuanced perspective, one that recognizes the legitimate rights, fears, and humanity of all who call this contested land their home. One of the most striking contradictions one encounters in Israel is the dynamic interplay between the sacred and the secular. This is a nation founded on a religious and ancestral claim, where faith plays an undeniable role in politics, society, and personal identity. The rhythms of life are often dictated by the Jewish calendar, with the entire country coming to a standstill for the weekly Sabbath and national holidays that commemorate ancient religious events. In cities like Jerusalem and Statehood, the visible presence of ultra-Orthodox communities, with their distinct dress and devout lifestyle, serves as a constant reminder of the deep religious currents that run through the nation's veins. The political influence of religious parties is a major factor in governance, ensuring that questions of faith are never far from the national conversation. Yet, alongside this profound religiosity exists a fiercely secular, modern, and liberal society that looks more to the West than to the ancient past. The city of Tel Aviv stands as the ultimate symbol of this secular Israel. It is a vibrant 24/7 metropolis known for its booming tech industry, its world-class culinary scene, its thriving arts and culture, and its open and tolerant atmosphere, particularly its status as a global hub for the LGBTQ+ community. Here, the preoccupations are not with ancient scripture but with innovation, entrepreneurship, and a Mediterranean lifestyle of beaches and cafes. This stark contrast between the piety of Jerusalem and the hedonism of Tel Aviv, just an hour's drive apart, encapsulates the deep cultural divides and diverse identities coexisting within the small nation. This mosaic is further complicated by the diverse communities that make up Israeli society itself. The nation is far from a monolithic entity. It is a tapestry woven from the threads of Jewish immigrants who came from over 100 different countries, bringing with them a vast array of cultural traditions, languages, and religious interpretations. There are deep-seated social and cultural distinctions between Ashkenazi Jews of European descent and Mizrahi Jews from Middle Eastern and North African countries. There are also significant communities of secular, traditional, and ultra-Orthodox Jews, each with different visions for the country's future. Furthermore, over 20% of Israel's citizens are Arab, predominantly Muslim, but also Christian and Druze, who navigate the complex identity of being citizens of a Jewish state while culturally and linguistically part of the Palestinian and larger Arab world. This internal diversity creates a society that is constantly negotiating its own identity. Debates over the character of the state, whether it should be more Jewish or more democratic, more religious or more secular, are at the heart of Israeli politics and culture. These tensions play out in public life every day, in disputes over Sabbath laws, military service for the ultra-Orthodox, and the rights of minority groups. Understanding Israel requires appreciating this internal complexity, recognizing that the nation is not a single unified bloc, but a vibrant and often contentious mosaic of different communities, each contributing to the country's dynamic and ever-evolving character. The story of Israel is not just about its external conflicts, but also about its internal search for a cohesive identity. The concept of a homeland is central to the identity of both Israelis and Palestinians, yet it is a concept laden with both promise and peril. For Jews, the establishment of Israel was the fulfillment of a promise from God, a promise from the international community via the Balfour Declaration, and a promise they made to themselves to never again be a stateless people at the mercy of others. This promise represents security, sovereignty, and the chance to build a future in the land of their ancestors. The state is seen as the ultimate guarantor of Jewish survival, a place where their language, culture, and traditions can flourish freely. The promise is one of normalcy, of being a nation like any other, while also being a unique light unto the nations. However, this promise has always been shadowed by peril. From the moment of its birth, Israel has been locked in conflict with its neighbors and the Palestinian people. The peril is existential, a fear that the nation could be destroyed, a fear reinforced by wars, terrorism, and hostile rhetoric from regional adversaries. This sense of peril has shaped a society that prioritizes security above all else, with a powerful military and a culture of compulsory service. The peril also manifests internally in the demographic challenge of maintaining a Jewish majority and the moral and political dilemmas posed by the ongoing occupation of Palestinian territories. The very actions taken to secure the promise of a homeland often deepen the conflict and perpetuate the peril. For Palestinians, the concept of a homeland is one of promise deferred and peril realized. Their promise is the dream of an independent sovereign state of Palestine, living in peace and dignity alongside Israel. It is the promise of self-determination, the right to govern themselves, control their own borders, and build their own future free from foreign military rule. This promise is enshrined in decades of international resolutions and was the central goal of the peace process of the 1990s. It represents the hope of ending the statelessness and dispersion that has defined their existence for over 7 decades, and of finally achieving a place on the map they can call their own. But for Palestinians, the peril is an overwhelming and daily reality. The peril is the steady encroachment of Israeli settlements on the land designated for their future state, which they see as systematically undermining the possibility of a viable and contiguous Palestine. It is the peril of a fractured political leadership, the economic hardship of blockades and restrictions, and the constant grinding reality of life under military occupation. There is a deep-seated fear that the promise of statehood is slipping away, that the international community has forgotten them, and that they will be condemned to a future of permanent subjugation. The peril for Palestinians is that their dream of a homeland will be extinguished by the harsh realities of the status quo. Our exploration will be structured as a journey through time, tracing the long and winding path that has led this land to its current state. We will begin in the distant past, walking in the footsteps of ancient prophets and kings who laid the spiritual foundations of this region. We will stand before the monumental stones of the Western Wall in Jerusalem, feeling the weight of 2 millennia of Jewish prayer and longing. We will gaze up at the golden dome of the Rock, understanding its central importance to over 1 billion Muslims. We will wander through the cavernous halls of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, a site that has drawn Christian pilgrims for centuries. These ancient landmarks are not mere tourist attractions, they are the living heart of the conflict, physical embodiments of the competing claims that make this land so sacred and so contested. From this ancient world, we will travel forward to witness the rise of the modern pioneers who reshaped this land in the 20th century. We will trace the origins of the Zionist movement in late 19th century Europe, born from a desperate need for a sanctuary from rising anti-Semitism. We will examine the crucial role of the British Mandate period after World War I, when the competing promises made to Jews and Arabs set the stage for the inevitable collision to come. We will confront the darkest chapter of modern history, the Holocaust, and understand how this genocide created an undeniable moral urgency for the creation of a Jewish state, transforming a political aspiration into a matter of life and death for the Jewish people. This historical timeline will lead us to the pivotal year of 1948, a moment of profound transformation that is viewed in radically different ways. For Israelis, it is the year of their triumphant War of Independence, the heroic birth of their nation against overwhelming odds. For Palestinians, it is the year of the Nakba, the catastrophe that led to their mass displacement and the shattering of their society. We will explore these dual perspectives in detail, understanding how this single set of events created two diametrically opposed national memories. This bifurcation of history is essential to grasping the emotional and psychological chasm that separates the two peoples to this day. Finally, our journey will bring us into the present, to see how this complex history continues to shape the physical and political landscape. We will move from the ancient ruins of Caesarea and Masada, symbols of past glory and defiance, to the modern secular dynamism of Tel Aviv, a city that embodies Israel's forward-looking spirit. We will also travel into the West Bank, to cities like Ramallah and Bethlehem, to witness the realities of Palestinian life under occupation and their resilient efforts to build the institutions of a future state. This journey through time is designed to show that the past is never truly past in this land. It is a living, breathing force that animates the present and will undoubtedly shape the future. As we set the stage for this in-depth exploration, it is crucial to state our guiding principles and our commitment to you, our audience. Our primary objective is to foster understanding, not to advocate for one side or the other. We recognize that this is a subject that evokes powerful emotions and deeply held beliefs. It is a story where both peoples can present a compelling case for justice based on their own history and experience. Therefore, we approach this topic with a profound sense of responsibility and a steadfast commitment to balance, fairness, and intellectual honesty. We believe that the only way to do justice to the complexity of the situation is to present the narratives of both Israelis and Palestinians with equal respect and seriousness. This commitment to balance means we will actively avoid the common pitfalls of reporting on this region. We will not engage in whataboutism to excuse the actions of one side by pointing to the actions of the other. Instead, we will examine each event and its consequences from the perspective of all those affected. When we discuss the creation of Israel, we will celebrate it as a monumental achievement for the Jewish people while also acknowledging the devastating impact it had on Palestinian society. When we discuss Palestinian resistance, we will explore its origins in the experience of occupation, while also acknowledging the fear and trauma that acts of violence inflict upon Israeli civilians. Our methodology is rooted in a deep respect for historical fact and a desire to provide comprehensive context. We will draw upon a wide range of historical sources, academic research, and first-hand accounts to build a narrative that is both accurate and engaging. We will use maps to illustrate the changing borders, from the 1947 United Nations partition plan to the realities after the 1948 and 1967 wars. We will use archival footage and photographs to bring pivotal historical moments to life. Most importantly, we will strive to let Israelis and Palestinians speak for themselves, allowing their voices and stories to illuminate the human realities behind the political conflict. Our role is to be a guide, providing the framework and context needed to understand these powerful testimonies. Ultimately, this is an invitation to join us on a journey of learning and discovery. We ask you to approach this material with an open mind and a willingness to grapple with difficult truths. Our hope is that by the end of this series, you will have a richer, more nuanced, and more empathetic understanding of the history, the land, and the two peoples whose destinies are so tragically and inextricably bound together. The path to peace and reconciliation, if it is to be found, must begin with the difficult work of understanding. Let us begin that work together right now, as we embark on this untold story of two nations.